All right, back to quarantine cooking. I had a specific request for a video on making tuna salad, which is surprising to me. I think it's because I make so much tuna salad. It is just the most common thing ever. But that said, I also make it a lot, so happy to do it. So a couple things to show because I think they're fun. So this is a couple of squares of cut up shelf paper that I use underneath my cutting board. It keeps it from sliding around. It makes me crazy when I'm trying to cut and it's sliding around. So I need a bowl. Other than that, I think I have everything ready. All right, so this is my tuna salad. My niece, nephew, and sister-in-law were all here to visit, and they decided that this was technically fancy tuna salad because I put a lot of stuff in it, and they thought that was crazy. So celery goes in. I've decided that's a little old, so I'm not going to use that one. So one stalk, or whatever you call it, rib, I think technically they call that, of celery. Let's give that a rinse to clean it off. And then cut off the dried ends. And so there's a little bit of that sort of like brown or whatever on this. I don't care about that. That eats just fine. So cut this into what is going to end up being bite-sized pieces. This will probably become tuna salad that I eat with crackers, or that I have on a tuna melt. Since I've been baking bread, I've been making a lot of tuna melts because tuna on homemade bread with some cheese is super dope. So some of you are going to look at this, at my process here, and be shocked that I don't cut my hands more often than I do. I don't actually cut my hands very often, so I apologize if you are fearing my knife skills. Anybody who's actually skilled with a knife might also be critical of my process. And you know what? I don't care about that because it works for me. And so far, I have all of my appendages still here. So I will show you my onion chopping, which again, is sort of funny to me that this is even a thing. This is an indication of what's happening in quarantine, that I am making a video of making tuna salad. This is about the most pedestrian activity I engage in on a regular basis. But whatever, desperate times and desperate measures, right? All right, so I cut onions differently than all of the cooking shows seem to indicate. I would say this is about enough onion for this tuna salad. This goes back in the onion bag. In a previous video, I think I showed that I try to reuse Ziplocs where I can, so that one will go back in the fridge like that. So my way of cutting onions, I've cut slices, and now I have these rings, and so I cut down against the rings, and it benefits from the natural breaks in the rings. So I never see the cooking show people do it that way. They have this whole other process that has never made any sense to me at all, so I don't abide by it. So that's my vegetables. Actually, it's not. I'm going to add some pickles. So these are pickles that I made last summer. I think it was last summer because they last a couple years. These are called Virginia chunks. This was my grandmother's recipe for years and years. Funny story, her name was Virginia. She passed away just this past June, I think it was June, at 104 and a half. And she made these when I was growing up. They were always my favorite pickle. They're sort of a sweet and spicy pickle. They have amazing flavor. My favorite way to eat them is with cheddar cheese on a cracker, but they're also really good in tuna. So a couple of these chopped up add a lot of flavor. So get those in there, which is great. Also going to add a little bit of lemon juice. So, and the cooking show people I watch do this thing where you squeeze into your hand. So it allows you to catch all of the seeds, which you can see, and not let them get into what you're cooking. And then to put the rest of the lemon in there, that will get reused. This is currently my favorite tuna. It is a local tuna boat, St. Jude tuna, and they come out of the Washington area. I think this is probably about a $4 can of tuna, which is expensive when you compare to grocery store tuna, but I also am supporting a local fisherman and it's incredibly high quality. So They have a couple of different flavors. This is the jalapeno, and so you can see on top there's a little bit of minced jalapeno. It's not super spicy, it just adds a little bit of extra flavor. So I'm gonna dump out most of the water and then just kind of flake this in the can a little bit before dumping it into my bowl. So there's that. Okay. And now a dollop of mayonnaise. Some of you are noting that I am putting the tuna fork into the mayonnaise. You are right. It's because really the only thing I use mayonnaise for is tuna, so I'm not worried about it. Some salt. And some pepper. And ladies and gentlemen, that's it. That is tuna salad. For me, now the thing I know that cracks me up is that people are very particular about tuna salad. I feel like tuna salad is like Thanksgiving in the United States. When you ask people what their favorite Thanksgiving meal is, you know, some people have to have the mashed potatoes with the marshmallows on top. Some people have to have the green beans with the onions on top. Some people it's always turkey. Some people it's something else. So tuna salad's the same way. People are really passionate. I had a friend once who thought if you didn't put mustard in it, you weren't doing it right. I thought that was appalling. This is my version of what my niece Abigail and my sister-in-law and nephew call fancy tuna. So here's your fancy tuna. This will be made into tuna melt and made on crackers. So tuna salad, make some yourself. All right, so that is tuna salad. And the best part now, of course, is the eating of the tuna salad. So this is the tuna melt that I have made. That is the tuna salad that you saw earlier on some bread that I made earlier, sourdough bread, and good old American cheese. So here's some lunch, tuna salad, tuna melt.